Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Tyson Fury says Dillian Whyte will get a shot against him if he beats Deontay Wilder, but the question is, when will he face him? So in recent days, the WBC has sought to clarify, and this is under pressure of 1, legal action from Dillian Whyte, but 2, just fan interest in whether Dillian Whyte will get his shot against Tyson Fury, or would Fury be elevated to the franchise champion designation, which the WBC may have put on Tyson Fury had it been requested by Fury and his promoter Bob Arum of Top Rank, who had suggested they would seek that if Dillian Whyte wanted to force the issue on the mandatory shot he is owed, which is due for February 2021. But that date does seem like it could be a movable feast because, as it stands, there is no Fury-Wilder 3 fight scheduled, and that has to occur before Dillian Whyte would get his mandatory shot. But Tyson Fury, talking to IFL TV, says Dillian Whyte is going to get a shot. Whenever it is, I don't know. Nobody knew what was going to happen with coronavirus. If everything else has been frozen, surely his mandatory has to be frozen too. It probably will have to be put back a year to catch up. Tyson Fury's statements on fighting Dillian Whyte and potentially when that could be, and that is contingent on him beating Deontay Wilder in a third fight, which is yet to be scheduled. But pushing it back a year, that is something Fury's co-promoter Bob Arum has suggested, although we haven't lost a year to the pandemic at this point. So we'll see where that goes. But at least Tyson Fury is now saying that Whyte will get his shot, which is something a bit different to what he was saying about a week or so ago. But with Whyte instigating legal action against the sanctioning body, that probably is behind the sort of change in stance by the WBC and also its champion Tyson Fury. Meanwhile, Tyson Fury in the same interview says that he intends to keep the same training team of Javan Sugar Hill and also his cousin Andy Lee, both of whom he linked up with ahead of the successful rematch fight. But he's also stated that if Deontay Wilder gets rid of Mark Breland, one of Wilder's assistant trainers, that he would bring Breland into the fold. And that's probably not going to happen, and maybe this is some mind games here from Tyson Fury. Mark Breland, of course, famously threw in the towel in that rematch. Deontay Wilder not very happy about that, although he was being battered to a pulp, and Breland probably did him a favour. But Wilder was very upset with him, had said that no one should ever throw in the towel on his behalf because he's always in a fight with his power. And after that fight, it looked like Breland may get the sack, may be fired, but then Deontay Wilder sort of walked back some of that and said that Breland would remain part of the setup. But it's gone very quiet since then, so whether Mark Breland has opted to stay with Team Wilder is unclear, so he hasn't really clarified in public. Just because Wilder says that he's going to stay doesn't mean that Breland has to if he doesn't want to. But I think this is some trolling by Tyson Fury, knowing that Deontay Wilder, if he thinks Tyson Fury could scoop him up, would not want to let him go. And it's unlikely Breland, who's been with Wilder for so many years, would just go over to the other side of the fence. And just a little bit more Tyson Fury news here. You may have seen a promo poster which is sort of advertising the best of British with Frank Warren, Tyson Fury, Daniel Dubois on one side, then Eddie Hearn, Anthony Joshua and Dillian Whyte on the other. Well, Tyson Fury has also seen that and posted to his Instagram story, "Our side will mullah your side." The undefeated German heavyweight contender Agit Kabayel is set to face Greek heavyweight Evgenios Kazaridis on July 18th in his return to the ring. Now, Kabayel had been due to face Marius Vuk in March, which would have been his first fight in about a year, but the pandemic put paid to that. So this is a new fight for him. Kazaridis does have a record of 16-2, although it is heavily padded. And I did have a comment on Twitter when I did post this up there. Someone said, what can you expect at short notice? But, they can actually find opponents before announcing fights. And also in this case, which I didn't mention on Twitter, they've had 3 or 4 months to plan this since Kabayel's last fight was put off. This isn't necessarily a short notice opponent, if you get what I'm talking about, because they've had such a long time to plan and put things in place. So not a great fight, and Kabayel will get an easy win. Dave Allen has reflected on his loss to Tony Yoka 2 years ago, saying, "I took the fight on about 20 days' notice and did 3 or 4 training sessions, then set off to Paris, massively overweight and severely undertrained to take on the world and Olympic champion for a night of being a well-paid prostitute. A piece of meat, lamb to the slaughter, got the worst hiding of my life. In boxing and in life it ranks at number 1. Physically and mentally left me scarred for a long time. Funny how something so simple as a fight can do that. The next day was the Eurostar to Paris to London and was delayed due to a fault with the tunnel. From my Paris hotel room to the front door of my flat it took 14 hours, only at this point about 60% vision in my left eye, and my right eye was completely shut, and my pride shattered, wearing just shorts and trainers as I took the rest of and sat on the floor of the train home half naked, stinking, still blood around my ears from the night previous." There was some more, but I won't get into it. So Dave Allen, it's interesting because after that battering that he took at the hands of Tony Yoka, and if you haven't seen that, it was kind of like the David Price fight to some extent, but maybe that Tony Yoka was letting his hands go a little bit more towards the end of that fight, and he did get a stoppage in the 10th round. He really did put it on Dave Allen, who was a little bit upset he wasn't able to see out the final bell because he had hung in there and taken a real beating in that fight. But Dave Allen, after that, he did rattle off about 5 wins in a row, including the Nick Webb fight. So he talks about being scarred for a long time, but he did end up going on a bit of a run, and that had people sort of gassing him up. And even Allen at one point was talking about if he could get past David Price, he could face Alexander Povetkin. It seems highly optimistic in retrospect, doesn't it? And just rounding out this heavyweight news mashup video, on the Andrew Maloney card, Helaman Olguin, that's a hell of a name, upset the previously undefeated Adam Stewart via majority decision, 57-57 and 58-56. A pretty sloppy fight. Helaman Olguin was landing some eye-catching work throughout the fight, but it wasn't a great fight by any stretch. But I do wonder with these guys, will one of them or both end up being fed to some of the young top-rank heavyweights, Guido Vianello, Jared Anderson and Sonny Konto? Having them feature on cards like this, you'd have to imagine one of them probably will in the next couple of months. Good development fights, I think. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.